Well, hello, and welcome to my cellar. And it's almost Father's Day, so to all you dads, granddads, and great granddads out there, enjoy your day. It's the one day of the year we get recognized for all the shit we do, and nobody ordinarily recognizes. Anyway, it's not what I want to talk about tonight. Apparently, I picked a scab with the support your friendly local game store last week. First off, I'm going to talk about our second local store. Apparently nobody in Cincinnati that doesn't go to one of the two stores that I'm going to be, the second store I'm going to talk about tonight, or the one I talked about last night, because I've gotten no feedback on who else sells games of any kind. But the second one we have two interesting, different types of game stores that I'm aware of in Cincinnati, that I've gone to and have run games at or played in games at. As I said last week, it was Yada Quest. They're the ones where you go and get your paints and your brushes, and they've got minis and dice and you know. And then we have Gateway Games. Gateway Games is a role-playing store. That's not to say that they don't play boards, because they do. They sell a few boards. Todd's store is the kind where if they don't have what you're going to look for and you say, hey, Todd, I really want to get such and such, he'll get it for you. Todd's is the store, Gateway Games, where a gentleman who actually grew up across the street from me many years ago told me that he was looking to get into role-playing, and how could he do that? And I said the best thing to do is go to Gateway Games or call Gateway Games, talk to Todd, and tell him that you're interested, because they do lots of games out there. They get people into it. They do a lot of Goodman games, DCC and MCC, and they do D&D a lot, and it's reflected in what they sell. They sell what they do a lot of, but they will get what you want. And it's a smaller operation, but it absolutely caters to its clientele, which isn't to say that Yada Quest wouldn't get you something if you wanted, but they present a wider array of goods when you walk in the store to dazzle your eyes and hopefully free up your wallet. So that, we have two distinct kinds. Now, game stores, anybody can call themselves a game store. My wife and I on Wednesday took a trip up to Yellow Springs, Ohio. It's about an hour's drive away, a little over an hour, about 60 plus miles. College town, really nice, old, small college town in the middle of the farm country of Ohio. And the Antioch College is there, and Wilberforce is in Xenia. And Antioch has always been known as kind of a loosey-goosey, hippie type of college, liberal arts. And the town's got that kind of vibe. And we went there on Wednesday. And there was a place that was comics and games. So, of course, I had to go in. And their idea of games, plural, was Magic the Gathering. I've made it clear before, I have no use for Magic the Gathering. As far as I'm concerned, it can go out and lick bumpers. I've made my objections to that game in many cases before, so there's no need to go into that again. But they figured, well, they got magic cards, and that makes them a game store. Well, all right. Now we'll get into some of the comments that this topic generated. In regard to supporting your FLGS, every small business, brick and mortar enterprise deserves some idea of what some of their customer satisfaction entails, especially after they got railroaded by the lockdowns. I see comments of customers' dissatisfaction with them being centers for Magic the Gathering and other overrated disliked games, probably from the commenter's preference for RPG perspective. I think Magic the Gathering sucks too. Sure, so what? At least it's a courteous gesture to communicate to those local gaming stores one's favorite D&D gaming books and accessories as an individual customer of what one thinks should be promoted. Personally, I'd buy a hard copy of Tome of Adventure Design at a local game store in a heartbeat rather than buy it online. It was a courteous gesture to explain to them why. How are those ever going to stand a chance of improving if the dissatisfied customer won't respect a bad local gaming store as better than no local gaming stores where everything else is big online corporations or Walmart? Good point. Or Target, where I bought Oregon Trail and the Hunt for Food expansion too. Surprised the hell me when I saw it and I bought it. I just out of stunned. Anyway, good point. Excellent point. And there's a couple other comments that deal with this issue of communications. As I said with Gateway Games, if Todd knows that you want something, especially if you and a couple of your buddies come in and you're really enthused about something, of course he'll get it for you. He's a smart businessman. Yet, of course, to do the same, Todd, and in Gateway Games, his business model is more toward, I don't want to have the huge overhead, but hey, you want it, I'll get it for you, and I'll get it for you quickly. When businesses are able to do that, they're able to produce more economies than businesses that have to hold a large inventory and stock. Every time, a new comment, every time I visited my friendly local game store, the D&D selection is abysmal, and the Magic the Gathering crap is pushed on me instead. That's probably cool for folks who play Magic, but I don't. So I quit supporting all of my friendly local game stores because they stopped supporting me first. Fair point. However, did you, or do you, or are there enough of you, meaning other gamers who share your interest, that can vocalize your interest to the game store and see if maybe they go, oh, well, okay, I didn't know. If you don't let your friendly local game stores know what it is you're looking for, how do they know to stock it? How can they meet your demands or your desires if you don't enumerate them, elucidate on them? This works both ways. Now, that isn't to say that somewhere where you live, and this is not anything to do with any store locally, I'm not going to get my ass in trouble, but you may have a store where they're just dicks. And that's all they want to sell is whatever they sell, and they don't care what you're looking for. They don't care. For whatever, there could be 100 reasons why their attitude is such. Doesn't matter. It is. So, find another store. If you can't, well, we'll get to that at the end. Another comment. Sadly, I wouldn't give any of my local game stores another nickel. To which was replied, why? And it was answered, because they're poorly run businesses with salespeople who are extremely awkward to deal with, or are more concerned with playing Warhammer or Magic and cannot be bothered to wait on customers. Ooh, I hear that one a lot. In fact, there may still be, I'm not sure, a store that billed themselves as a game store here in Cincinnati, I don't know if they're still in business or not, because their idea of being a game store is so not appealing to me that I have never gone back since. They claim to be a hobby shop, game store, and what I suspect, and I'm pretty sure they were, was three guys who rented a storefront in a rundown strip mall so that they could buy Warhammer stuff at store prices. They were Warhammer players exclusively. I would not be at all surprised to find out that they were amongst the incredibly rude group of Warhammer players that used to be here. They may still be here in Cincinnati. I know in years past, when they were given a whole big room to set up many tables of Warhammer, all they did was play with each other. Yeah, I know what that sounds like. And were very rude and curt to people that were, gee, what are you doing, interested in what was going on. Those are the dicks that I was mentioning earlier. And if they have gone converted to being a magic store, so be it. In Yana Quest's earlier incarnation, when they were on the other side of town, they did lots of magic events. And I used to hate it. But I understood why Matt did it, because they generated a lot of revenue, which kept the store afloat. When they solely focus on one product line to the detriment or the deletion of all others, they're not doing their general public a service. However, if they're able to stay in business doing that, they're fulfilling a niche market. What are you going to do? You can go in and clamor, hey, stock what I want. Good luck. Okay, a further comment. Even though I kind of feel the same way about the gaming stores near me, I look at them from a humanitarian standpoint. Every small business, brick and mortar enterprise deserves some idea what some of their customer satisfaction entails, especially after they got railroaded by online corporations and government. I think Magic the Gathering sucks. I'm noticing a trend here. And Warhammer is a stupid battle mat, 2D, boring bunch of robotic hair-splitting bullshit. But at least it's a courteous gesture to communicate to them one's favorite D&D gaming books and accessories you think should be promoted. Personally, I'd buy a hard copy of Tome of Adventure. Didn't I read this before? No, I guess I didn't. I'm remembering when I cut and pasted. Anyway, I'd buy a copy of Tome of Adventure Design at a local game store in a heartbeat rather than buy it online. And we'll wrap this up. If you want people in stores to be different, then how about you communicate them? You communicate what you want them to do differently. Direct action gets the goods. Excellent point, and that goes back to my original statement, communications. Friendly local game stores will only be a success when they know what they can sell in sufficient volume to stay open. Now, I'm not saying you got to go in and give the lecture to the person that owns the store. No. You want to be friendly. Hey, hi, I'm a gamer. Sadly, a lot of the games I play I don't see here. And strike up a conversation, strike up a relationship. And if you've got 5 other friends that all want to play what you're talking about, he's going to listen because that's 6 potential customers. Or maybe it's 6 people at one of his tables in the back room one night a week or every 2 weeks, which also brings in more interest. This all snowballs. And it's an actual fact that a lot of the smaller friendly game stores make a lot of their cash, a lot of their profit margin, selling snacks, selling pop, soda, whatever you call it, selling candy bars, granola, jerky, whatever. That's good business. And they know their market. And none of them sell anything that's got orange crap on it. They know their market. Okay. That's enough on the friendly game stores. Now let's beat on us for a while. Us being gamers. Because again, gamers is a broad term, and the people that play Magic consider themselves to be gamers too, and I'm not going to tell them they're not. It's just a different game. We have some real extremes in our hobby. I see them in the responses I get. We have, and I've gotten to know over the years, especially when I was doing the collectibles auction at Gen Con all those years, I've gotten to know a lot of the big deep pocket, what I call the deep pocket collectors, who will spend eye-watering sums of money to get something to complete their collection. Now, I'm not talking, six figures, but I'm talking for that, okay, I mean, we're still talking a lot of money for a small item. And I know people that are so cheap that they won't buy anything they don't absolutely have to have. And that's okay too. Okay, I mean, I know gamers that will pay $100 for that board game because they want to play that board game, not put it away. They'll make an investment, a substantial investment in games to play them. And then we have the cheap shits. Now, the cheap shits think all PDFs ought to be free. A lot of the cheap shits, cheapskates, I'll be nice, cheapskates, I suspect have socialist leanings because they want everything for free. The extremes figure that all rules ought to be out there for anybody to use. That's the extreme end. That's one extreme end of that spectrum. And then, case in point, Kickstarter. God bless Kickstarter. Many, many, many good games have come out of Kickstarter. One amazing con job game made literally millions of dollars for that Exploding Kittens. I haven't found anybody yet that's played it 4 times because it's kind of like a okay. Yeah. Anyway, runs a gamut. And there's been Kickstarters that people have been burned. Ken, you hear that? But there's some people on Kickstarter that come in at the cheapest level, and that's fine. They're frugal and they're economical, and they bitch about postage. Supposing there's 6 watermark PDF goes out, a bundle of because 6 gamers got together and said, let's order this, because it is cheaper to do it. 6 of them can get 6 of them in $5-6 medium mail. Medium mail gets decent delivery, as good as anything nowadays since that asshole DeJoy took over. Okay, so 6 of them for $5 or $6. We'll say it's $6. It's $1. $1 to get something shipped to you. Can't we have it for free? We bought 6. Well, no. So they're the far end of they're the far other end of the spectrum, the cheap shits. That figure, everything should be free. Should be free. Well, that's not the way it works. Those of us that write games need some return. Or there's no reason to write games. I don't know a single game designer that was born rich and just sits around and craps out game ideas for fun. Ones that are worth playing anyway. Anyway, we have extremes. All right. Now, another scab I apparently picked is listening to everybody else's D&D stories. Hearing someone's D&D adventure story is kind of like listening to someone describe their latest dream. You know it must have been interesting to them, but to you it's just a nonsense story about nothing that makes any sense. Good facet on that, Jim. Another comment. You mean to tell me you can't appreciate that we live in a diverse world and you see it when where no one's talent at telling a fictional story ever fascinates you and captivates your undivided attention? Hell's bells. If it's a good storyteller with a great voice, I'll listen to him tell. I listen to Morgan Freeman talk about walking down to the local corner to buy lemonade from the neighbor girl. Unfortunately, most of the people who want to share their latest adventure don't know how to tell a story. Go on. Or at the very least, if people are consistently boring as to you, their dry, boring storytelling style never inspires you to try to learn to write or speak stories of your own better? Well, if they're boring as fuck to me, then I guess I am better already. Because I've never been accused of that. Maybe because I am a better writer than average. I have higher standards, and that's why I don't like listening to them. Maybe it's because they lack the skills to tell the story. You know what I'm talking about if you've ever sat around a campfire or a big family dinner table or a big gathering of friends. There's always somebody in the group they can tell you, they can hold you spellbound with their storytelling abilities. And there's other people that just natter on. And the other thing is, it's so hard to figure out if people are being satirical. Internet's hard for that. All right, another topic or another comment on this same area. Overwhelmed with droves of zealous fans, gamers, and customers at the early conventions telling their story. It's probably your calling in life to be Papa D&D guru dude to respond to people's D&D gaming stories. My guess is a lot of gamers feel like they're sometimes prodigal orphan children attracted to receiving some kind of affirmation from you for their efforts of participating they wouldn't ordinarily get. Okay, here again we go back to my affirmation. I don't feel my affirmation's worth that much. Secret. You know, like I said, I write well. I was at the right place at the right time. I am proud of what I did, but I don't feel like a cloud of patchouli incense follows me around in my sanctified condition. Anyway, there's a 1999 movie about Galaxy Quest. Yes, I know all about Galaxy Quest. It's a wonderful movie. I've watched it several times. And I made a point of identifying all the aliens in other roles in other TV shows. Yes, I love it. Okay. Now we're going to get into some gaming stuff, finally. How long have I been nattering on? Oh, about half an hour already. A basic inquiry, I know, Tim, but in running a game that involves an encounter with a vampire, the charm spell performed with a vampire's gaze. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Would you have it automatic, or give the PC an option of whether to look to the floor, thus evading said eye contact? In short, could he behold the creature, then look away quickly and avoid the effect? It's only my brother and myself that play, so I'm thinking of giving him a bit of a chance without involving any NPCs. This guy is very self-deprecating, and Believe me, if spelling and punctuation bothered me, I'd never, I never have anything to respond to. I don't worry about that. When I'm not grading you, I'm looking for the idea, not how well you spelled it. Um, yeah, I never believed that a vampire just had to look at you. It's not like he has a petrifying gaze. I always felt that you had to make eye contact, direct. So certainly, I would give a chance, in most cases, a substantial chance on the first meeting to not be locked into that gaze. Now, obviously, as the encounter goes on, the vampire is going to try harder and harder to catch you in that gaze and exert his will and all those things vampires do. But I'd certainly give him a chance to. Nope, not going to look at you. Not going to be drawn into that mesmerizing gaze. I'm a zombie and I'll do whatever you say. Nope, not automatic. Where'd be the fun in that? I'd never put him in if it was automatic. I won't do anything that's automatic. I won't have a bunch of fourth levels go fight an ancient dragon because they're automatically going to die. What would be the fun in that? So certainly, why not? It's your game. It's your vampire. Maybe his mesmerizing gaze isn't his strongest suit, so he's not quite as good as his brother vampires at it. There's all kinds of reasons you can make for it. Any kind of justification. This is fantasy. It's fiction. Okay. Thanks for. Okay. Apparently, I answered his previous question. This time, I've got one about clerics turning undead in OD&D. Do chaotic clerics turn undead just as lawful ones do, or does their ability to do something different? My first thought is that they'd be able to control undead, but I can see that getting out of hand pretty quickly. Do you change the turn undead spell, and if so, how? That was always kind of one of the understood's opposite type spells that we later had to clarify in further editions. Absolutely, instead of turning them, he can take control. However, to prevent that from becoming a game buster, just letting him truck through the graveyard and building a massive army of undead, there's a number of ways you can handle that. You can make them have constant checks to see if they stay under control. Shouldn't be absolute, because they're mindless. You can have, the more he accumulates, the less likely he's going to keep them under control. And the more likely they are to turn on him and tear him apart. So if you approach it that way, you can easily keep it from getting out of control. Good ones turn them away. Bad ones try to control them. But the control is a tenuous thing at best, especially early on. And the more he tries to control, the less actual control he has over each one, or in aggregate. And eventually he loses it, and they turn on him, and they rip him into little tiny gobbets of meat. All right. Here's a comment. Oh, loved Adventure Gaming Magazine. I'll be getting the PDFs ASAP. Awesome news, Tim. Well, thank you. That's the first 5. There's 8 more that are going to be done, probably 4 and 4. And eventually, my whole thing about writing and I'm the newspaper that I worked on in college and the magazines that I've worked on, and the dubious distinction I have of some of the greatest gaming magazines ever. I've worked on them all because I like telling people things, and I selected articles because I thought other people would like being told those things. Not that I was saying them, but that I was sharing them. And so I think it's good to go back in the early 80s and look at what was important then, and see what relevance it has today. Good times. Mud puppy games. Quick question. Would temples to good gods offer magical healing for free? How about non-magical healing? This is a funny question. Go find a hospital right now today, run by a religious order, and try to have them give you free treatment. Ain't happening. You can take that same dynamic and put it back in yours. All right. Now, cutting aside the crass commercial today, let's examine that question. Why would they give it away for free? Oh, we're good. But they can make the argument, we're good. But it costs money to keep this lovely temple. And it costs money to keep this hostel in there that we can carry you in. And yada, da, da, da. And it always costs money, and it always costs money, and it always costs money. I doubt it. That's me. That's my cynical outlook. And that's the way I would run it in my world. If your world comprises of rainbows and unicorns and flowers and butterflies and all those altruistic, wonderful things, that's okay. I'm only being a little sarcastic here. But, no. Non-magical, perhaps. They offer to rub you with some of that Keotom's butt medicine if you cut wood for them for a couple of days, and telling you that that's a therapy that'll get yourself back into shape. I could make a case for an individual cleric, running about in the woods, Tom Bombadil-like, healing people because it makes him feel good and everything. But once you get organized, organization has overhead thwarts and perverts altruism. Nah. Now, evil temples might do it just so they could stick something in you. Oh, I know. They could inject you with nanoparticles. And then you would be magnetized and spoons would stick to your feet. That chat about dragon colors gave me an idea. Now, I do prefer to have dragon functions in my game as written in the rulebooks. Fair enough. But I reckon I'll have some of my dragons use illusion magic to fool mortals in their territory that they are a different colored dragon, or even that they are multiple dragons. This could fool adventurers into using inappropriate defensive preparations and could further the dragon's nefarious plans in other ways too. I love it. Absolutely. High-level illusion is such a potent tool in a game sense from your behind the screens perspective. Oh, yes. Great idea. Next, to give first levels a boost, I give max hit points at first, and players get 2% on rolls times 10. One is for starting gold, and the other is starting XP, and they get to choose which is which. With old school rules, if the thief rolls well, they can be well on their way to second level before they backstab their first orc chief. Good idea. I'm not going to criticize anybody's other way to do it unless it's some Sky Dreams thing that just produces, ridiculously powered characters right off the bat. All right, apparently I made the comment that light and dark spells are not that big of a deal. Am I serious? We all want to know how dark is a darkness spell and how lit are light emitting items in your campaign and game with the creatures that cast such a spell. I don't know, what are we gonna measure lumens and whatever that measure of darkness is? If someone throws a specialty fluffy glow-in-the-dark magic chalk dust on the invisible creature within a darkness spell area, does the otherwise invisible creature still light up enough to be seen? No, it's in a darkness area. Come on. Now, if somebody's throwing light and somebody's throwing darkness, then you just dice off and see who wins. If theirs is a higher level spell than yours, then you're going to dice with some disadvantages. Does the otherwise invisible creature still light enough? Or is the darkness so utterly darker than dark, that it blots absolutely all visual reflection out so no light reflects like a theoretical black hole? Okay. Dark's dark. How dark is something? And I think it'd be more situational than anything else. I remember the strength segmented into the 18 plus, the percentile range of segments, while no other stat has these segments at any other score. They never made sense to me. I don't miss that at all, and that's why I like 5e and the rewritten general rules of the public D20 system, where each of the 6 ability scores have a consistent modifier proportion in the ability score. Well, actually, all of the stats, if I recall correctly, all of the stats, if very high levels, get pluses of one kind or another to one roll or another. It started with 18 strength, and it was Conan and Cull and John Carter. Those 3 archetypes. How strong is strong? Now, if you do get the improbable odds of rolling 3 6s, well, how strong are your 3 6s compared to the other guy whose improbable roll gave him 3 6s? Can you lift an iron portcullis? Can you move an enormous boulder? How strong is your preternatural strength? How strong is it? Smart. Wise is wise. Now, smarts can give you some die roll modifiers. Dex can give you some dexterity, constitution, and they should. And as I recall, most, if not all of them, do have pluses. Now, they aren't gradated. Why? 18 to 18. Smart. 18 is you got in Mensa. Now, Mensa's 164 minimum, as I recall, recently, that is. So it doesn't matter if you're 164 or 194, except in the pissing contest during the Mensa meetings. And to the rest of us, trying to make sense of many, I know an individual who is absolutely qualifies for Mensa, belongs to the local chapter, and doesn't know some of the basic functions of the services in his house. Smart, smart, wise is wise. The old conundrum. If a deity is all powerful, can it make a boulder so big it can't pick it up itself? Why not? You can go back into that. St. Augustine, I don't know who else played with that one. So, okay, that's fine. You know, if there's other games that got parts of systems you like or concepts that you like, there's no law that says you can't modify into your campaign and play it that way. Or say, this is the way it works on my world. There's no rule that says that I can't play Magic the way I play Magic on the world of Makanda. Most of Makanda, Magic works just normally. On small, tiny areas of Makanda, Magic has been depleted because of things that have happened in those areas in eons past. And in even fewer places on Makanda, again, remnants of ages past, Magic is wildly uncontrollable, magnified many times. Why? Because that's the way I want to do it. So if I wanted to write an adventure that you go in and out of these low magic areas, won't that be fun? Okay. All right. In regard to the alternative to the power gamer and anti-cleric Finger of Death, okay, maybe that guy might consider the tribal spellcasters. The variant spellcaster classes of the weird humanoidal, okay. Is that anything like adenoidal? Monsters totally legitimately published and written by Gary Gygax. Oh God, yes, it's chiseled in stone. In TSR, in the Dungeon Master Guide, first edition, a little obscure section of page 41. Quote, Tribal spellcasters. Tribal spellcasters are found amongst the following races of creatures: bugbears, cavemen, ettins, giants, gnolls, goblins, hobgoblins, kobolds, lizardmen, orcs, ogres, troglodytes, and trolls. So, it might make more sense to have a spell called Pull My Finger, founded by the greatest American orc shaman named something or other Tool, requiring some kind of specialty reagents that are non-Cincinnati varieties of specialty chili determined through the Scoville game to commit the spell so it doesn't backfire. I see somebody's been paying attention. Okay, good point. I have long felt that all the inimical, the loggerheads races, never could pronounce that word right, inimical. Anyway, I've always had them have at least what I would call a hedge wizard. Not a wizard, not a magic user per the rigid stats of D&D, but a specialist to their race that has a propensity for this or a propensity for that, an affinity for plants, and therefore what can be extracted from them, or an affinity for the birds, or whatever. I figured that just made sense. That even on their, we'll be chauvinists here and say their lower intellectual level of, say, orcs versus humans, some of them would have found that they have an affinity for moving the earth, or doing something with water, or something on a more basic level. I don't know. Sounds like a good idea to me. Ought to be fun. Okay, last comment. Did an open campaign at a library once where new people might show up each time, and the dungeon was a little on the meat grinder side. That sounds like fun. Had everyone make 3 level 1s at first and allowed them to make a new level 1 every session until they had a stable of 6 to pull from. Worked pretty well, though as it went on, I needed to add milestones to let all of those unplayed stable characters level up to keep them relevant. For example, drive the bugbears out of the dungeon, everyone's at least a level 2 now. Defeat the vampire, everyone's at least a level 3 now. Okay, and then somebody nitpicked on this, and how big was the vampire? The point remains that yes, that's a really good, I think that's a brilliant idea to get a campaign started. I think it's a brilliant idea to get a stable of characters. I'll tell you what I would love to have right now. I'd love to have a stable of characters like the NPCs, or the pre-gens that I use when I run tournament games or convention games. This one calls for, okay, I'll use a druid here. Ooh, I'll take the cleric here. This is a fighter type. Oh, this is the fighter who's good with the bow adventure. Yeah, I'd love to have that. Great idea. Great idea. And that looks like about the end for the evening. I got to say. I understand Texas was a pretty good turnout, pretty good result. I'm delighted to hear that. Get well, Doug. And for the rest of you that we're starting to get out again, get together, fig game face to face. I've been doing it now for 4 sessions. It's wonderful. We're all vaxxed. It's wonderful. We're having a big special one this coming Wednesday. Putting on a spread of food. Everybody's bringing some food. Just because we're all so glad to be back together. Communicate with your local game stores. Tell them what you want to get. Find the local store that will order for you. Order frequently. Build up a relationship. Maybe the 3rd or the 4th order, they'll give it to you they'll get it for you a little less than normal because they don't have to sit it on their shelves for 3 weeks hoping to sell it. But that doesn't mean that you got to try to niggle down every single price. These people, men and women, have to make a living. They want to sell you what you want to enjoy your hobby. Many of them also enjoy the hobby. Pay a little more than you pay online. Walk out of the store with it, as opposed to send away your money and wait for DeJoy's jerks to screw up the sorting process or whatever it is they do. I still love my two letter carriers. Great people, both of them, a man and a woman. Great people. It's not their fault that they don't get the mail into their bag on time or as fast as they used to. My Always Came on Saturday magazine doesn't always come on Saturday anymore. That pisses me off, Anyway, I'm going off on a rant. Let's see. If you got a local event going on, go. If you don't, call up through your gaming friends, decide whose house you can go to, and have your own local event. Get out there and play. I don't care if you're playing RPGs. I don't care which RPG. I don't care if you're playing board games. I don't care if you're playing Monopoly. The sport, the activity, whatever it is that we do, gaming, the exercise of our mind, the strategizing, the camaraderie around the table, around the board. We need more of it. We've been locked away for a year. Get out and do it. And until I see you the next time, Dodada Govi. Oh, hello. I'm still figuring out when this thing starts. Welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. ESR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.
Curmudgeon